No, I'm serious, because you're not acting like you own a business. That's the first step. It's like, hey, dog trainer, newsflash, you own a business.
The gentleman sitting across from me, KD Mathews, not only is he an esteemed dog trainer, he helps young dog trainers turn this into a business, a real business.
Man, it's not just young dog trainers. Some of the more rewarding work that I've done with trainers has been with 10-year plus training, where now working with dog owners and I'm seeing what's happening, and I'm working with a person who doesn't feel too good about themselves.
Right, I'm not gonna make rent. I can't. I'm a loser. I can't make it. You know, I'm lying to myself. Maybe I should get a job. I'm a failure, right? Like all those.
You use the word just, you trivialize whatever comes afterwards, and you trivialize the challenge that the person is having. Just tell the dog to sit. I don't know, just tell them. Well, they probably have. Dog trainers should never be the hero. The dog owner is the hero. We are the guide.
But really what he did was he bought himself 80 hours of a job that he worked.
There's a lot of dog trainers who miss out on what they can get from the next dog. It's anyone who is at a place in their business where it doesn't feel good anymore. It's starting to feel icky. It's feeling frustrating. They start rationalizing the burnout.
Because you're gonna capture Andrew. I have 10 dogs in the kennel. It's a holiday break. So I'm here in Boca Raton, South Florida. And if you know anything about South Florida, KD, people like to travel. So the way my program works is kind of like a school. And when I get very well versed with the dogs, they turn into mentor dogs. So a lot of people are traveling. I was up in Palm City this weekend learning for Fabian Robinson at a seminar. KD asked me, Andrew, how you doing? And I had a little inkling of that idea of like, am I going to complain? And then KD says, we're blessed. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to an episode that I think you're going to love. The gentleman sitting across from me, KD Mathews, not only is he an esteemed dog trainer, from what I understand from a distance, and I'll find out here in the next hour or so, he helps young dog trainers turn this into a business, a real business. And a lot of people listening love dog training. They love helping dogs. They love helping owners, but they might feel like they're stuck. So I hope for the next hour, you guys tune in, put away your distractions, and join us for what I think will be a legendary conversation. So without further ado, KD, thank you so much for joining this show.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I'm excited for the conversation.
Can I kick things off the bat with a thesis I have, and you will poke holes in it and share what you think about it? So on the internet, on social media, maybe, we get into this argument over tools, argument over ideologies, arguments over training styles, almost like the right way to raise your kids is kind of how I compare it to. But I feel like there's a void in this industry of understanding that young people chose this for themselves. And really where there's a gap is they might have gone to university, but they don't truly understand how to turn this into a business. And then you get this generic advice like, well, you have to become the best trainer you can be. Well, obviously you have to be the best plumber. You have to be that best electrician. There's no question about that. If you're terrible at what you do, your business won't succeed. But is that really technical knowledge? And I've seen a few trainers that you've worked with, a few I follow that I really, really like. They give you a ton of shout outs. They say, man, after working with KD, my business took off, which gave me the opportunity to invest in myself, to give me freedom so that I can learn how to become a great trainer. Any thoughts on that? Anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to poke holes in?
I think right off the bat, the one thing I would add, because I think it's a big misconception, is, man, it's not just young dog trainers. Some of the more rewarding work that I've done with trainers has been with 10-year plus trainers. And it's exponentially more challenging for obvious reasons. And as it's going to become very clear in this conversation, the parallels between what I do with dog trainers and what dog trainers do with their dog owning clients are endless, They are wonderfully, if not painfully, ironic at times. And what made me think of that is, sure, it's great if, as a dog trainer, you get that client who actually reaches out to you before they bring a dog home, right? Those unicorns, they are unicorns. And I've had some of them, and it's like, you don't have the dog yet? And they're like, yeah, I want to make sure I start correctly. And you're like, I don't even want to charge you. It's a clean slate. And then you get someone who's had a dog for 6 years, and it's been 6 years of dysfunction. So there's a lot of challenge there, but there's a lot more aha moments, and there's a lot more rewards. So that would be the first thing right off the bat is it's not just the young trainers. It's anyone who is at a place in their business where it doesn't feel good anymore. It's starting to feel icky. It's feeling frustrating. They start rationalizing the burnout, and without getting on a side quest so quickly in this conversation, we'll get to that too, is the normalization of very dysfunctional things as dog training business owners. It's no different than what we see in the dog owning media of normalizing a reactive dog, normalizing, like a common one you see is like, oh, you got a dog now, say no to personal space. Oh, so we're normalizing pushy, possessive behavior from dogs? Like, no, that's not something we should flex about. And you see that a lot in the dog training world, is this normalization of the grind. You're supposed to be stressed out. You're hot. I'll make a post on Facebook. Facebook is my little petri dish, right? Just this social experiment. And I did a post a while ago. We're like, hey, dog trainers, tell me what your favorite non-dog related hobby is, and when was the last time you did it? The amount of laughing emojis I got, the amount of comments like, hobby, what's that? And I'm like, this is my evidence right here. And this, like, no, this is not okay. So whether they're new and they want to avoid all of that, or they've been in the business for a while and they're starting to get disillusioned with their choice to do this, and their personal life is a mess, relationships, marriages, their personal health. These are things that I focus on way more than I do like revenue numbers.
I'll tell you guys, I know it's going to be a good conversation, but I'll tell you from my own anecdote kind of why I wanted to have KD on. So I don't know the exact quote here, but most businesses don't fail because of insolvency, which means they run out of money. Most businesses fail because the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, runs out of desire to continue. And I saw this with my own family. So we're immigrants from the Ukraine. We came here when the Soviet Union broke apart in '92. And like the American dream was kind of like to own your own business, right? And that's a blanket statement, but there's actually not a really great definition to what that means. And you'll understand why is. So my dad, he worked at a pizza delivery shop, and then he saved up enough money to buy himself a cafe. But really what he did was he bought himself 80 hours of a job that he worked for whatever, 60, 70, 80, 90,000. This was like in the 90s to 2000s. And I saw how, like, in the first few years, you're excited, and maybe I open up cafe number 2. But what you don't realize is cafe number 2 is a different skill set. It goes from a skill of I'm there all the time to I hire a barista and a manager to run it. And maybe my profit goes down for a year or two as I'm learning, but I'm going from a solopreneur, basically an underpaid, overworked employee, to, hey, I'm actually trying to turn this into a business where I get my time back. And during COVID, his business, it's funny, I would like, if I described it and told it in stories, it went under, but he's happier. And the reason is he finally got his time back, because for 20 years, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., and he was at all my soccer games, he was always there, but like he was always working, and it was really long hours, a lot of stress, and it was this like never ending, how do I get ahead? I don't have the skills to get ahead, right? So I saw it, and I see it so much in service businesses. It happens in every industry, but we love dogs. So like this one's near and dear to our heart. So what KD is saying is so true. It's it's not just about learning how to be a great dog trainer. It's learning how to price yourself right. It's learning how to set boundaries, learning how to hire people, having a clear vision on what do you want for this to become, and can you handle taking a step back to maybe take a step forward. So there's no, and I'll get into questions. I have a list of questions, but does that story resonate at all with you?
Dude, that's textbook. And I love how you said it with, it wasn't necessarily owning a business, it was like owning a job. And are you familiar with Michael Gerber?
It sounds familiar.
Michael Gerber has influenced a lot of my own knowledge and learning about entrepreneurship. He wrote a series of books, but the main one is called The E Myth. E referencing entrepreneurship.
I've heard this, and people say that his title is not great, but the book is fantastic.
The title's very misleading. You think it has something to do with like internet or email.
Right.
What a phenomenal book, and very easy to digest. And I use that book and the information in it as a platform when I'm first working with someone to get them to understand what's actually happening here. And that's the first step. It's like, hey, dog trainer, newsflash, you own a business. And it sounds like, well, no crap. No, I'm serious, because you're not acting like you own a business. And the reality is, as solopreneurs, which most everyone starts out as, you're having to wear 3 hats. There's the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. And what happens is, and again, I'm quoting here, Gerber, he calls it the entrepreneurial seizure. And it's that moment where, and for dog trainers, it's they've trained their own dog.
Yep.
And hopefully they trained some other people's dogs. Hopefully they did an apprenticeship. Hopefully they've got some experience. Maybe they worked for another trainer. And all of a sudden one night they said, why am I either A, doing this for free, or why am I doing this for someone else? I can do this myself. I'm going to be my own business. That happens.
Light bulb.
And cool. They get the LLC, they get the website, they get the Instagram. But all they are is a technician, a person who does the thing. But now they opened a business. The business requires a manager to run it so that the technician can do the thing reliably, peacefully, with a full spirit and a clear heart and clear mind. The business requires an entrepreneur to every once in a while jump in that business, take a look at it, see if there's any other opportunities for where could other revenue be coming in? How can we monetize various things? And how can we develop a new service that helps our clients, helps dogs, and helps us? So there are these 3 hats or 3 voices, personalities, if you will. And the majority of dog trainers that I see, not just speak to, but that I see, they are technicians. They are dog trainers who have a business, but they have no idea how to run it. They have no idea how to manage it. And that's why they find themselves suffering in a variety of mental, physical, and emotional, and then eventually financial ways.
And that is, so like for manager, I wrote this down, you could add to it, is obviously there's the running, like the providing the service that you paid for, the technician does that. But then you have accounting, you have operations, you have marketing, you have advertising, you have sales, you have pricing, you have offers, and maybe hiring. We could add that to there. Mm-hmm. And then for entrepreneurs, I would put like kind of opportunity and community, maybe like kind of getting your name into the community. Yeah. And you could maybe move these around. Is that
great?
Right?
That's great. And what usually happens is it's just a technician.
Yep.
And, you mentioned something in there. When you mentioned manager, you said offers.
Offers are huge.
I'm willing to bet the majority of people who will watch this do not know the difference between an offer and a service.
Yeah.
When I talk, and this is something I teach, it's like, okay, there's your offer and there's your service. And the people, the blank looks I get. And a question I love asking dog trainers is, what do you sell? I've done it on Facebook, and the threads and the comments are wild.
I bet they say dog training, and then underneath it's board and train, private lessons, and maybe like online coaching. Yeah. But that's not an offer. Break that down for them, KD.
So when we think about what we actually sell, there's two answers to it. There's the really kind of high level figurative, and then there's something more practical. We'll start out with fantasy figurative because it's more conceptual and it's an important concept. I like to say you sell emotions. You sell emotion, and the look that people will give me. Think of it this way. What you're actually selling is the feelings that come from the transformation, which is a much more operational, tangible answer to the question, what do you sell? You sell a transformation. But that transformation results in feelings. So whether it's feelings or transformation, that is what a dog trainer essentially sells, whether they realize it or not. And this is why so many struggle when it comes to sales. That's one reason. The other reason is I have found, just like I like to work with dog owners and teach them about the relationship they have with their dog, and the relationship is at the root of the successes and failures. I do the same thing for dog trainers. I'm like, what is your relationship like with your business? In particular, the relationship many dog trainers have with the concept, the act, the process of sales is rather toxic. Because for the same reasons, there's the age-old picture that's been going around the internet since the dawn of the internet of a dog who had a pinch collar. It's a white and olive, or a white and tan dog spotted. I remember the coat and everything because the picture is viral, and it's it had a pinch collar on for God knows how long, embedded, and that photograph has been the poster for why pinch collars are bad. And the same trainers that will say you cannot base your entire opinion on this tool off of this toxic, dysfunctional misuse example, that isn't rational. Those same trainers, if you talk to them about why they don't like sales, they're basing it off of an experience they had in life where a car salesman, a dishwasher salesman, the guy who knocks on your door to sell you a new roof, they will have some experience they had in their life where someone was inappropriate, pushy, maybe unethical, maybe they did buy it and they had buyer's remorse. Either way, that dysfunctional experience has now become what the relationship with the whole thing is based on. And all of this comes back to, what's an offer? And is there a manager? Do we understand all of these things, which could go under the umbrella of it's, what I do is I help dog trainers build a functional damn relationship with their business and all aspects of it.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is you break beliefs, plus you give people the step-by-step of how to do it. And guys, I mean, KD, we've never spoken, right?
Oh,
but like what I think is cool about the internet, maybe. But what I think is cool about the internet is I really wanted to bring KD on, and we're recording. It's getting late here. It's Sunday, and he's so generous with his time. Is because I truly believe in helping people with their business. Right? There's a lot of people giving advice out there about how to train dogs, and no question that's important. Like, please don't misunderstand me. But I think equally as important, if you are in business for yourself, is to learn the tactics, learn the limiting beliefs, and have the step-by-step. And what I had a feeling, but now I see it as I knew you wouldn't gatekeep anything either, which is super cool, right? Like, because you could keep all this stuff, say, hey, I'm a little coy, and like you have to sign up for my program to get this information. But I appreciate how generous you are with sharing this stuff because it really does help people. It's a big deal.
I've had that same I've had a conversation about exactly that with dog trainers about like how much information they put out or things. And I'm like, listen, it's never the information.
Can I show you something I've written right here?
Yeah.
So right here, right there, it says, give away all the info, sell the implementation. Because it's really not the info, right? It's not. It's the I'll do it for you, and this is how you will feel after that. And So if you guys know McDonald's is a great example. I mean, many of you probably have heard this, but like when I say this sometimes to younger entrepreneurs, because I struggled so much, and I remember the days I couldn't make rent, and I sold websites, and I had. I mean, I think I've tried every business, honestly, in the book, and I failed so much in my 20s. It was when this moment hit, it was such a big moment. It was, what does McDonald's sell, right? Like, how did McDonald's become such a big deal? And then I think Ed Milet said this, it's the Happy Meal, right? They sell the emotion of happiness, right? They don't sell French fries and chicken nuggets. It's they sell happiness, right? That's what made the Happy Meal so big. And when you said that, like, hey, you sell the feeling of a transformation. You're not selling dog training. You're selling how the owner will feel when their dog behaves well, when they're not embarrassed, when grandma or grandpa come in the door and the dog's jumping all over. Mm-hmm. How would you feel if your dog could join you at dinner, right? How would you feel if your dog walked politely on a leash around the block?
Nobody wakes up in the morning, rolls over to their spouse and says, honey, oh man, I really think we gotta buy 7 obedience sessions somewhere. I'm gonna go find 7 session private package on like, nobody says that. And if they do, they're the exception. We don't talk about exceptions, right? Like, that's not what people are waking up in the morning thinking. That's not what they're saying to themselves when they get back from a nightmare walk with their dog and they're holding their heads in their hands and they're contemplating why they even have this dog anymore. And they're feeling so many things. They're feeling frustration, they're feeling embarrassment, and then they're feeling massive amounts of guilt because they do love the dog. And now they feel guilty for being frustrated at it is an emotional storm. They're not saying, I need to buy an obedience package. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for help. Why are they looking for help? Because they're hurting, man. They're hurt. Now, are there some people who are a little bit more proactive? Yeah, of course. There are. But I mean, this is something too that's changed in the industry over the last 20, 25 years that my head's been in the game. I've watched even what my own services that I'm providing and the way I'm having to communicate with dog owners has changed dramatically than when I first started. Like, dramatically.
How so? What comes to mind?
20 years ago, let me put it this way. 20 years ago, I very rarely had to talk about people help. I very rarely had to help people be assertive with their dogs. I very rarely had to talk about boundary, structure, rules. If anything, I might have had to soften some people up and talk about communication, right? So the way I break up a relationship with a dog is 3 pillars, right? I say trust, communication, and respect. And honestly, I think that's all relationships, including humans. Yep. Respect was very rarely one of the talking points 20 years ago.
Trust, communication, respect. 20 years ago,
it was mostly communication because people didn't know how to communicate with dogs then. They don't now. There were some trust issues back then because sometimes they would overcorrect in the wrong ways and it was a little bit unpredictable, which is where trust issues come from.
Yep.
2025, trust is not typically an issue at all. Communication is still an ongoing issue. The big thing now is respect. The modern relationship between humans and dogs, there's a lot of issues with a lack of respect. And that changes the job. If you're going to provide dog training services to people, to the community, to the market, it's going to be different than it was 20 years ago. Yep. It's going to be more than just, this is how I tell the dog to sit. This is how I teach them the difference between down and, you'd have conversations like, well, you said lay down, but now you're saying down. Which is it? Like, those conversations were simple. And then they'd go, oh, that makes so much sense. And you'd clear that up into 6 sessions and you're done. Now it's more like, well, why are you crying right now? Because I told you we're not going to pet the dog for a couple minutes. Like, why
actually literally just happened a week ago.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Katie, do you think it's the breeds? So I know the answer is no, but like 20 years ago, maybe people were getting Dobermans, Pit Bulls, Shepherds, and today people are getting Golden Doodles?
Nope. No, because more people have Pit Bulls now than ever before.
I love my Pitty.
I got 2.
Yeah.
You know, that's a whole separate conversation. I got quite the soapbox to get on. We don't need that right now. One of my many books that I've started and have yet to finish, one is called Cuddles Killed the Pit Bull. And it's about what's happened with pit bulls and propaganda and marketing and why so many of them are being euthanized for behavior issues because they've become popular, but in the very wrong way. The issue, I think, isn't about breeds. It's about culture. And as culture changes, culture at large, everything within that culture is impacted by it. And that is absolutely manifested in human-dog relationships. The way people treat dogs now is very different. The way people see dogs now is very different. And the dog-owning population is different. So there are more people who get dogs now who never would have got dogs 30, 40 years ago. So you have people owning dogs, let alone breeds they shouldn't have. You have some people who quite honestly don't presently, and I'll say presently because I'll be optimistic and say they one day might be able to, but many people who own dogs today don't presently meet the criteria of what it takes to even responsibly own one. But because the internet and social media has created this new narrative of what a dog is, many people think that they are, yeah, I can get one. It's not a big deal. It's just this fuzzy, furry thing that will cuddle with me as long as I give it affection and food. And then they find out real quick that's not the case. So that's the big change. Is 25 years ago, I didn't have to really deal with that. And then the people who are older than me, like, they never really dealt with that. And now it's, you have someone who has a dog of a breed they have no business even being around, let alone owning. And I might even question their overall present ability to effectively and responsibly own any canine.
How would you distinguish between trust and respect?
Okay. Oh, love that question. So trust is about predictability. That's the one word I like to use to help people get it as quickly as possible. Trust is, and if I wanted to be really painfully objective about it, I could almost say, like, I can trust a liar. I trust that they will lie. Right. And I'll use that simply to paint this picture of what trust is in the essence of predictability. I know what's going to happen next. I can reasonably predict what's going to happen next. So respect isn't about that predictability. It's much harder to define, actually. Respect would be much more of the boundaries within a relationship. Like, I look at you and I have a feeling that somehow motivates me to do right by you, or at the very least, not do wrong by you. It's an invisible thing that has to be established. It is very rarely assumed. And with animals, it has to be earned. It should be earned with people. But to whereas I can not like you, but respect you. I can be like, you know what? I don't want him to starve. I just don't want to eat at his table. But I respect him. Like, I know that if I were to cross a line, cross a boundary, if I were to behave inappropriately in any way, there is going to be a appropriate and fair and rather meaningful consequence to that. And you know what? I'm just not interested in experiencing that. So I'm just going to be a good boy.
It's cool. I love how you break this down. I mean, I see why, obviously 20 years experience. I would say respect. I checked that box. Communication, I've improved. I've really improved with trust, the predictability with dogs, especially I mean, I have two dogs that come to mind. I had like a skittish Jack Russell Terrier and like Westie, dogs that retrievers trust everybody. But like there are sometimes these puppies where they really rely on your predictability. And when you're a young trainer, I could have done better for sure. The way I get respect is I actually give respect first. So the way I do that with my dogs in my program is I'm not going to say a period of time, but like, let's say a week, 2 weeks, depending on the dog, is I call it depositing in their ATM. I fulfill their genetic needs. And that's, we go out in nature, we run, we bike, we play, we fetch, I deposit into them so much. And then I come home and I slowly withdraw. I create some boundaries that are very simple and clear, and I hold them accountable to those. So that's like I've actually early as a trainer really traded on respect, and I've had to come a long way and learn trust and communication markers and things like that is obviously important. Everyone understands communication, but the way I think of respect is I deposit into that ATM, and labs and retrievers, I mean, you could gain their respect much quicker than some skittish smaller dogs. I'm sure we know that. And then slowly just begin to establish boundaries and hold the dog to those boundaries. And ideally try to show the dog that those boundaries actually lead to more deposits very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think why it's changed so much, again, culture, right? We've heard before that the dog is the mirror to the owner, right? So a dog will tell you who you are. A dog will call you out on all the things you are not close to being ready to accepting about yourself. And it's not a coincidence that as you build more trust and respect for yourself, your relationship with dogs will change on its own. It doesn't require any methods. It doesn't require any drills or training. How you feel about yourself absolutely influences your relationship with dogs, because how you feel about yourself and the relationship you have with yourself influences the relationships you have with literally everything else in your existence in your life, because you are bringing yourself as a party into that relationship with a dog. And I mean, for me personally, that's where my business, the direction I went in with dog owners when I created Socratic Canine, I went heavy down that road. And I'm not saying everyone needs to. I just enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed that human end of the leash work, and possibly because a lot of my other careers in life revolved around that. Like, I've been doing business consulting. I was a public educator for over a decade. I taught middle school in Florida. Like, I've done a lot of things professionally that all involve teaching, coaching, and helping people. So coming to that point where now working with dog owners, and I'm seeing what's happening, and I'm working with a person who doesn't feel too good about themselves. I'm the guy. I double down on that, and we go right into it. And a lot of in my online program, the Canine Blueprint that I've been running for years now, I can't tell you how many people have either sent me a DM or posted something in our group like, is this really a dog training program? Like, my relationship with my kids is better. My relationship with my ex is better. My relationship with my boss is better. Like, this is a self-help program disguised as a dog training program. And I'm like, guys, here's the deal. Like, dogs can be the most wonderful catalyst for personal growth if we see it that way. Like, if you won't be better for yourself, if you're struggling with that, how about this? That dog you love so much, let me help you look at that dog and let's frame your personal growth through the dog and watch people flourish through that. Like, I love that. But I didn't have that conversation 20 years ago, to be honest with you. That wasn't happening.
Well, personal growth, self-development. I mean, it's always been there. I mean, Tony Robbins, he was like the pioneer of it, but now you see hundreds of them.
Yep.
And what comes to mind is, from just a business perspective, when you're riding the ebbs and flows of the emotions of a young entrepreneur, right? I'm not going to make rent. I'm a loser. I can't make it. You know, I'm lying to myself. Maybe I should get a job. I'm a failure, right? Like all those inner demons. How can you be predictable? Right? So like you're not going to be able to solve for trust at all if you're coming in with these emotions, and you can't lie to your dog. They know, right?
100%. And what you're saying is, it's literally things I've said to trainers who are kind of sometimes questioning about investing in their business. And I'm
We're
like,
investing in themselves, right?
yeah, wait a minute. So you're frustrated, you're burnt out. You laughed at me when I asked you, do you ever go for a walk without a dog? You laughed at me when I asked about vacation. You laughed at me when I asked you when you went on a date with your spouse or hung out with your kids. All of that impacts your state of mind and your well-being and your energy, your vibration, whatever people are into, how they want to articulate it. It's very real. We just call it different things. But I heard you talking to that dog owner, and you were telling them that they need to be peaceful, they need to be feeling good, and they need to bring that into their... Wait a minute. Don't you work with dogs too? Like, if you're telling a dog owner to work on themselves and feel that way, to bring that version of themselves to the dog, and you work with dogs there, you do board and trains, right? Yeah. Okay, so you got dogs living with you. You're stressed out, unhealthy, you're miserable. Don't you see like something's not connecting here? There's like a really painful hypocrisy going on. And it's true. It's like, if you're not
Do they get it?
Yeah, they always get it. They get it, and they respond in a variety, because it's a conversation I've had many times.
You're
And
pushing on those emotional buttons.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy of the emotional button.
Yeah. It's like, you said this to a dog. Another one, the big one, and this kind of goes to a question, that we had talked about prior to the show, is it's like, what's one big mistake that everyone's making? And that's a blog. That's what blog posts are written on, YouTube videos, like top five mistakes, right? Well, I think the biggest one with dog trainers is they're winging it. They're doing the exact same thing they tell dog owners. They go into, Facebook groups, all these dog owners, they're just winging it. They're just YouTubing it. No, they need to invest in a professional who has a proven track record of helping people in that situation. And then you look at how they're running their business. They're winging it. Maybe they're watching a couple business YouTube videos, usually not. They're just, let me look at some other dog trainer's website. What's he got over there? I like him. He's cool. Let me see what he's doing. Oh, let me look at their Instagram. What did they do on Instagram? I think I'll do that too. It's just completely... It's like, didn't you just get frustrated with a dog owner for doing that, and now you're doing it with your business?
I'll tell you guys, this is a real case study. As soon as I invested, so there's two types, I think, investment. Maybe there's more, but as soon as I invested time and effort and money, I guess three, time, effort, and money into myself, my business was a byproduct of that. And this year this is multiple six-figure business this year. It's completely a symptom of the cause of the investment of what habits are dragging me down. First off, that was like, eliminate the anchor habits, like the habits that don't serve you. Those got to go. What habits are crucial for me to feel 100%? Those need to be prioritized even before training the dogs. So everyone has different ones, like go to church, or go exercise, read, meditate, lunch with a friend that builds them up, whatever those are. So anchor habits removed, those are tough. What habits improve, right? Like the keystone habits. And then what skills don't I have? Like, look yourself in the mirror. What skills don't you have? Whether marketing, sales, whatever. Invest. Pay professionals to add those skills. And those three things, those three components, took my business from like 70, 80K to multiple six figures just as a byproduct. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't the cause. It was the symptom.
Yep, 100%. And dog trainers will tell dog owners, and oftentimes they'll do a good job telling them about the benefits of investing in their relationship with their dog. But they won't invest in themselves as dog trainers. I had 1 year remember I was doing my taxes at the time, and I was literally on doing a live like the day after I talked to my accountant. It was a couple years ago. We were talking about investing in yourself. And like that 1 year, I think I was like 25,500 because it's all deductible. So like we were
Yeah, but people hear that number, they think that's crazy. But like, what's the ROI on that?
Like, I mean, that's what I spent on my like business coaches, programs, mentors. Like, yeah, because that was a big year. I was working on some big projects and I needed help. And yeah, that's what I spent. And then the return on that though was rather significant. What I learned and how I implemented it. And that isn't just in revenue, that was in my personal life and how I felt. Because at the end of the day, I do not agree with this flex of the grind. This thing that's happening in the dog training world where it's become a brag to have no life. It's become a brag. And the only reason it's become a brag is because it's so common. Rather than fix it, people are trying to normalize the dysfunction. Just like people normalize the dysfunction in their dog behavior rather than fix it. Dog trainers are trying to boast about how much they work and how hard they work, and they have vacation. You haven't had one of those in a while. It's like, then what are you doing? Your business is a part of your life. And if you're married, if you're in a relationship, if you have children, if you have friends, if you have hobbies, if you have any of those other robust things that make this gift of life, not to sound cheesy, but man, it's a gift to be here every day. What are we doing to enjoy it? How much are you smiling? How much are you happy? Because if your business is not contributing to enjoying all those other things, then that means the opposite. It's in the way of it. That's not a flex. That's not a brag. Like, no, I'm not impressed that you haven't gone out with your wife in 2 months. Like, I'm not impressed by that at all. Like, what's going on in your marriage? Like, what are you doing? So having a functional, healthy relationship with the business is going to mean investing and learning how to do that. It's going to mean making some sacrifices here and there. And it's going to mean working on possibly some self-discipline and some personal growth so that business can help you be happy. Because if you're happy, you'll be a better dog trainer. Like, you work with animals. Come on.
For sure.
You got to be happy.
I want to learn a little about KD before dog training, kind of how you got into this, but I'll give you guys an exercise we just did the other day. So I was at a seminar. So my young trainer, and she's been amazing. Maybe we'll talk about also like hiring, because that is challenging for businesses that want to hire young talent and develop it. But however the universe works, she's been really great. I went through probably like 100 interviews, because you have to hire slow in this space. You have to be really thorough. Despite the advice of hire fast, fire quickly, in this space, I don't think that applies as much.
It doesn't, man.
It does, because you're turning over your clients and your dogs to that person. But she's been amazing. And like, so she ran the business for 2 days while I was at the seminar. And I come home and like, you could see she's proud, right? Like, she's 24 years old and she worked at 2 local places right by here. So we did this exercise. So I had her tally up all the income that we made today. So for her to get perspective on what each dog was paying. And then we did a quality of life. Like, what was your day like? Did you enjoy today? And then the quality of life at her previous places. So she put 6 out of 10 at the previous one, 6 out of 10, and then a 10 out of 10 here. She gets to bring her dog here. She bikes with her dog off leash in nature. She hangs out with a pack of dogs all day in nature. She meets all my clients. My clients are happy. They want to be a part of what we do. So we did a quality of life and an income right side by side for her to see, like, because, a lot of times people think the harder you work, the more money you make, the quality of life should go down. And I wanted her to see the way it's sustainable is the quality of life should be high, which is what led us to get to this high income, because we're emotions into the dogs, but also emotions to the owners, where the owners come here with their kids. Their kids want to join us and run around with the dogs in nature, and everyone's happy. So we just did that exercise, and it was a long time coming. It was probably 15 years of struggle for me to realize quality of life is a direct like it leads to better business. They're not inversely correlated. It took me a long time to realize that.
And I think for a lot of that is because there is this normalization of the grind.
You think
now,
so?
Oh yeah. Now I'm not saying we never should grind. There are time periods where it is appropriate and you gotta get the work in, right? You just have to.
But you don't like the negative connotation with the word the grind. It's the work is still the work, but you could have, because I've worked harder and I wouldn't call it a grind, and I wouldn't say it's taken away from my quality of life. I would actually call it I think it's enhanced the quality of life because the work is still the work.
The work is still the work. Let me try to explain this or articulate this better, is this idea that the 7-day a week, 18 hours a day, all I'm doing is spinning my wheels. Like, that's what I'm like. That's when my red flag is like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, you can work hard for periods of time to, like, for example, when I was launching the Balanced Dog Business, which is my school group for the dog trainers, I was working more during pre-launch than I had in quite some time. I was grinding. It was okay. Like, it felt good. Sure. A couple 18, sometimes 20-hour day in my office. I was in work. I was in flow state. I still was going for my walks. I was still getting dogs out. I was still reading. I was still going to the gym. I was still having those moments, thank goodness for Pomodoro timers. And like, I have structures in place. I was grinding, but I don't do that 365.
And you knew the things that would fill your cup too. Like, you prioritized, because everyone's different. Like mine, I love running with one dog, going for like a 3-mile run. It's not an obedience. I always say I pick the dog depending on who makes my life easier, because that's my run. That's not the dog's run.
Yes.
So like, whatever your things are to fill up the cup, you have to prioritize those. What was KD as a kid? Like, so you lived it. I want to get to your middle school, but like, what was KD as a kid? Athlete,
I played sports year round because I was determined, not because I was good at it. So very uncoordinated, unathletic, but determined. Like, I'm going to do this. So all through school, I played soccer and tennis. And I grew up, I'm not a Floridian. I just live here. So I grew up in upstate New York, just outside of the capital, Albany, and spent a lot of time in the Adirondack Mountains, fishing, camping, was a ski instructor all through high school in the Berkshires. But one universal thing for me is, I'm an only child. I grew up around adults. So from a very, very young age, I socialized with and mingled with my parents' friends. Didn't have a whole lot of friends growing up. When I tried, it was always very awkward because I just spent all this time around hanging out with adults at 8 years old. I remember as a kid going on the man camping trips. All those other guys had sons. They weren't allowed to go. I was, and I didn't understand it at the time. But later on, I found out it's because I sat around the fire and it behaved appropriately when it was time to talk, spoke appropriately, knew when it wasn't time to talk, and the other guys wouldn't bring their kids because they didn't. So being part of that adult social group and having to communicate at a very high level and having to read a room and having to navigate all those social interactions came very naturally to me. Well, that didn't pay off too well amongst my peers. That it was very challenging. But academics, always my family, I grew up, like, grades were very, very, very important. Grades and morals. That was what I got growing up. Like, be good, be successful, do what you're supposed to do. And it's interesting that you asked me about like athletics, because that's kind of how it's very similar to me with dogs. I'm not naturally good with animals, let alone dogs. I'm not one of those people who just grew up like walk into a room and all the dogs behave differently. That's not my origin story at all. And I am so glad. I'm so glad it's not. I got determined. I nerded my way through it for a long time. And because of that struggle, well, when it was time to work with dog owners who were struggling, oh, that comes in handy. We talk about the difference between sympathy and empathy. Like, oh no, I could empathize. Like I could go into a home and see the frustration, see sometimes the fear that they were having about certain things with the dog. And I'm like, hey, I know how you feel. And then I'd be able to articulate it. And I mean, the rapport you get when someone feels seen, it has turned out to be an amazing tool for me in my work with dog owners, especially because coming up, a lot of the dog trainers that I worked under or got to learn under, it was very old school. This is like the early 2000s, late 90s. It was like the people that were really doing dog stuff were the people who were just good with dogs. And you'd have difficulty getting a dog out of a kennel, and they'd go, their guidance was, well, just do it. What do you mean the dog won't do this? When he does it when I grab the leash? I'm like, yeah, but I did it the way you showed me. It's not working. Well, I don't know what's wrong. Just do it. And I developed a very new relationship with the word just, not in the context of justice, but in the context of whenever I'm working with someone, I very rarely will ever tell them use the word just, because typically whatever follows it is trivialized. When you use the word just, you trivialize whatever comes afterwards, and you trivialize the challenge that the person is having. Just tell the dog to sit. I don't know, just tell them. Well, they probably have. They might need.
And the alternative is mechanicalized, like turn it into a series of steps, like take a second and because you say that I sometimes think I do that.
I'm sure I've lost track of how many times I did that in the past. Like,
what's the right way to do that, right? Because we live so much, we forget, like, okay, well, let me break it down into a series of steps that you might be, that might work for you.
It all depends on what we're talking about, right? So the context here is big. I will say that I do have a universal principle or a lens I try to look through first. So the name of my company is Socratic Canine for a reason. I'm a big believer in the Socratic method, which for the most part we can paraphrase by saying it is teaching by asking questions. And I was just having this conversation with one of the trainers in my coaching program because they were having difficulty expressing something or communicating something to a client. And I'm like, we should always be doing our best to be asking as many questions as we can, even when we're trying to make a statement. So before I tell you, do this, do that, I'm going to try. It might not always work out. Like there might be times where I do have to give a directive. I do have to break it down. I am going to try my damnedest first. Can I figure out a series of questions I can ask to get them to what I normally would have just said? Because one, you're engaging them. They have to answer, and they have to think to answer. Two, if they can work their way through it on their own, it'll last longer. It'll be their knowledge. It'll be their epiphany, not mine. Like, I'm not the hero in the story ever. Dog trainers should never be the hero. The dog owner is the hero. We are the guide to help them find that heroic moment. And that means leading them. That means, like, we're not Frodo, we're Gandalf, right? Like, Gandalf wasn't the hero. Frodo was. Gandalf had to help him get there, though.
I had laughing. Dog training is so much fun. Like, if you really look yourself in the mirror and you could, like, so yesterday I had these two litter mates come. Guy called, he's like, they're just blowing off at every dog I see. I was like, all right, it's Saturday. I got back from the seminar kind of early before sunset. All right, come through. So he came through an hour and a half later. and they were on harnesses, 2 litter mates, 2 Cavalier King Charles dogs, the sweetest dogs in the world. So we took them off. So harnesses, they were freaking out. Then we put them on just slip leads, stop freaking out. And then what I did was, okay, I'm going to let more dogs out of my kennel, like well-behaved, balanced dogs. And I put one on a harness, one on a slip lead. And I said, and I looked to the owner. I said, well, okay, tell me why you think these dogs are blowing up. And the dog that was on the harness on a tight leash in front of the owner was blowing up. And the dog on the slip lead wasn't. So I was asking the Socratic method, and my trainer is getting onto me. She's like, stop asking them questions they don't know the answer to. But I said, I want them to think. I want them to see and think for themselves why this is happening. We've played this whole chess scenario out right in front of them. Mm-hmm. Is he not capable of seeing what I'm seeing? This isn't some novel stuff, right? So we just had the scenario. And that's the cool thing, right? There's always that next dog up. There's always that next client up where you get to be just a little bit better, a little bit more, hey, I could implement this. I misstep here. I wasn't clear here. And we get the opportunity. That was a big mental shift for me, was next one up, next client up, next dog up. Like I could be a little bit better tomorrow. Because we all, like, we look back probably a year ago and be like, I wouldn't train that dog the way I train now. Hopefully, right? I've evolved. And that's a good thing. So we always have that. Hopefully, we always have that next dog up. How did you get into middle school teaching? And I want to ask you about how you became such a good communicator, but that will be next.
Middle school came. What was I doing? I had already worked for a rather large company in middle management, like operating like a region of offices. And that was just killing me.
I heard your whole tone dropped. You're like, it sucked the soul out of you.
It did. I mean, I learned a lot about business and management and leadership. But it was just, it was 80 to 100 hour work weeks. Like it was just, that's all you did was
purposeless.
Yeah. Just endless. And I just said, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just quit. And then I had ended up in Florida in a relationship that I was in. And my ex had just like said, let's go to Florida. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go to Florida. I'll pick up and start over again. And I was working there. And I was, at that point, I got into health insurance, like customer service, working in call centers, then running a call center. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. And it was the same feeling again. Like this, like, what am I doing? And at that point, I was getting heavy into dogs. Like the dogs had lingered. They've been here and there. I've been doing a little this, doing a little that. Well, at that point in my life, this is like 2001, 2002. Dogs were like every free second.
Your own personal dogs are helping people?
Both. Like it was everything. Like if I wasn't working, it was dogs. I had my own dog that I was just getting into protection training with. I had gotten into a club, like a ring sport club for the first time. I put a bite suit on for the first time. I was getting introduced to that. Like all these new things were coming my way. And I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome. So it was every second. And then there's this job that was just like getting in the way. And I had said, one thing I had always been good at, like just naturally good at, it's a very short list. Everything else I had to work for. The one thing was teaching people stuff. Like even when I was in high school, I was a tutor. My high school job was a ski instructor. Put me in a job where I'm washing dishes, I became the trainer for the new dishwasher. Like there was always this theme of me helping and teaching other people in every single job I've ever had. Literally every single one. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be a public school teacher. That makes sense. One, I mean, I'm good at teaching. Two, what better dog man job is there? Like every weekend off, you're out of work at a certain time to like, if you got a dog, if you got a puppy, if you got dogs in crates, like I could, at that time I was getting interested in competing. I'm like, if I want to compete or trial, I have all summer to travel the country and trial. Like teaching is the ultimate dog person job. And that I went back to school, October 2003, went to USF, finished my undergrad because I had already had an associate's from New York, and went to USF, got a degree in social science education, became a history teacher, got hired, graduated in '08, hired in January '09, and then taught middle school for 12 years.
Went to become a teacher. Went back to university to become a teacher. And you were probably 30 years old then? 25?
Oh, late 20s, yeah.
Late 20s. Oldest in your class for sure, right?
Oh, yeah, every single class. I was definitely the oldest.
And you've always been like a quick start, like you get an idea and you're like, I'm gonna go.
Oh, 100%. Like, yeah, I go all the way. Like, it's feverish. It's feverish. And
do you think you've always been a great, like, so with something that I would say I've struggled with, but I'm really working on is presentation skills, right? How to deliver a point really succinctly. Would you equate that to teaching? For example, like running a webinar or posting a YouTube video. Would you say you had a natural gift for that, or do you think you kind of refined that over the years?
What specifically when you're referencing
digital teaching almost?
Being succinct, being effective in the strategy and the instructional design is a skill that you have to learn. I have to learn that. I'm still working on that. I'm always improving on that. What was natural for me was just the communication.
But you have a school of middle schoolers. They're looking at you. They're giving you feedback, right? So one of the challenges I think in today's day and age is when you're creating a video online, whether you're teaching dog owners online or dog trainers, is there's no feedback loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're delivering the point, but you're staring almost at yourself in the camera. It's eerie, right? Where if you're in front of a room, you could kind of like make eye contact with Sam over there and Jenna over there. Jenna's like nodding and Sam's like, what the hell are you talking? I'll go back. You know what I mean? Like you have the feedback when you do it in person, whereas so much now communication is without that feedback loop.
So what helped me with that, because honestly, since 2018, 2019 in particular, the majority of my work has been online. Like over 95% of my business has been in online services. The way that I got good at like talking into the camera, it was through Instagram. It was through I got on Instagram kind of late, that whole Instagram thing. I was definitely late to the party, but what I would do is I would do a lot of Instagram lives. And this is what I recommend for anyone wanting to get more comfortable in front of any camera for any reason. If you have Instagram, use the live function and feature. One, it's practice at looking into a camera when nobody's there. And when I started doing lives back then, like there'd be like one viewer, sometimes no viewers. And then all of a sudden it was like 200. And now because of algorithms, it's back down to like 10, like whatever. I have not been great on Instagram lately. So that skill of practicing over and over again, just talking into a camera. And the reason why I say Instagram Live in particular is because you know what, when you're done and you hit that little X, there's an option and it says discard. You just discard. Gone. Very few people are screen recording you when you're new. Don't even worry about that. It's gone. It never happened. And you know what you're going to do tomorrow? The same thing. The same thing. Every day. And pretty soon you get really good at talking into that little cyborg eye. And you do that enough times, that becomes a skill. So while I had this communication piece isn't really that difficult for me, in the beginning it was difficult talking into a camera. So then when I started making the Canine Blueprint, which while it is a live coaching program, there is curated content, there is course materials. And I have my webcam sitting up on my monitor and I'm just doing my thing. And I have people giving me feedback. They're like, dude, those lessons, like you're funny or you're this or you're that. Like, how are you so animated? I'm like, well, because I'm talking to you. And they're like, no, you're not. You're talking to a camera. I'm like, yeah, but I knew you were going to be there. They're like, no, you did. I'm like, but in here I did.
Plus you had all those hours of practice.
Yes.
And I think that's so important, KD. I asked you for a reason. Regardless of what we want, gravity exists. And the gravity of today's world is you have to make video content online. there's almost no way that you can get known. Maybe you could push back. I think there's very little way you could get known without putting your face in front of the camera and letting your customers or potential customers know who you are and what you're about.
I think it's important. I don't think you need it to get started.
Do you need it to get to where you want to get to get to?
Depends on where you want to get.
Do you think you could start a service business where you're working with clientele, not a product, like you're not building an app?
Yep.
Service business that's making over, and 100K is nothing with inflation, over $150,000 profit in your pocket without showing your face and speaking to an audience of, this is who I am, this is what my business stands for, this is a little sneak peek into the life of my business.
No, you do have to do that. I just don't think you necessarily have to do it with social media.
What are the other options?
Just your marketing. Like whatever you're going to have to be, if that's the goal, there's going to be some paid advertising involved.
Okay.
And paid ads is something I'm very transparent about. Like, I don't take a penny from anyone on advice about paid ads because I've never run them. And when I am ready to run them, I'm going to pay someone else to do it. That is a skill set I do not want to invest in learning. I will pay an expert for. So what I am educated on is knowing when you need to, right? Like knowing when you need paid ads. You're going to need paid ads of some kind. And those might be running through social media. You might be running Facebook and Instagram ads. Google tends to be, if you're brick and mortar, like still getting your stuff
SEO.
up in the Google ranking. The SEO is just super important because that person who's waking up in the morning ready for help with their dog is going to Google and typing in the search bar. That's going to be the majority of the people.
Those are the intent to buy, as they call them. Right?
Exactly. The other ones are the ones where it's a suggestion, and that's going to require some really good copywriting and some really well-designed social media ads. So yeah, you're going to have to be talking there, but having a good, this is where, okay, now we're talking about websites, right? Like this is where the website matters. And it's always a chuckle to me when I hear trainers say, oh, website doesn't matter. Listen, here's a caveat here's a good filter for anyone watching. Be very careful taking business advice on dog training businesses from anyone who either A, doesn't do it full time, or B, does not have a proven track record of helping those who do. So you can do it part-time and still have knowledge to help others. So I don't want to say you have to be, but what I'm saying is be very cautious of the people giving advice on business when they had a secondary income. They had, or a spouse who brought in the majority of the money. Wait a minute, you don't have skin in the game. Don't you give advice to this person who literally emptied their savings account and took their inheritance money and said, I'm taking the entrepreneurial plunge. I'm going to do it. This is all I got. And you're telling them they don't need a website. Wait a minute. Doesn't your spouse make $200,000 a year? Wait a minute. Don't you have a second? This is a hobby job for you. What? And you're giving business advice about you don't need a website? Or you don't need a market, or you don't need this, like
meaning they're not under pressure. They can let organic growth do its thing, and organic growth works. And you could even, because I know who's coming to mind, and you could even listen to them for training advice. Oftentimes, they're great trainers.
Yes,
but don't listen to them for business advice because they never had all of their skin in the game. They never burned the boats.
I love you. I got a soft spot for. I love that phrase, burn the boats. Like that was actually something that one of my mentors told me when I was at a key point in my life and careers. He's like, "Hey Cortez, burn the damn boats, buddy. Why are they sitting there?" So you just hit a good spot when he said that.
KD, I mean, I have a soft spot. Dude, my story is I'm an idiot, honestly. I went to Drexel. Drexel has internships. So my 3 internships were Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, and Merrill Lynch. So I was a Wall Street guy. I got an $85,000 job. This is 2013 at BlackRock with a $10,000 signing bonus. And I quit 3 months in because my boss quit and his like under boss quit. And I was like, this is just boring. Think about how freaking stupid I am, right? Like, who does that? And I went into sales for crypto, and then I went into business for myself. So, like, now not everyone. There's like looking back, I could have played that way more strategically. That wasn't a strategic play, but I was just like, man, I think this is me, and I struggled so much, and partially because of my own stress and my own habits and maybe my own unpredictability. So there's that aspect. Remember, get rid of the anchors. I also didn't have the good habits, so I added those. But then the third pillar was skills, like real life skills. Okay, sales came pretty natural, but I didn't really understand marketing and branding. I didn't really have a core problem, so I wasn't a good technician, right? So I had to go through this. This was 23. I'm 35. I'm 36 next week. So I love the business side of dog training so much. And I see a lot of young people who love this space. They love dogs. They're probably naturals with dogs. I would argue they're probably better trainers than I am with dogs. But they really feel like they can't get ahead because they don't have those business skills. And they might not know the sequence right now even to put those skills into place. Mm-hmm. to really give them financial freedom where now they're great at what they do, and that greatness makes them happy. That greatness makes them fulfilled. That greatness gives them the freedom that they've always wanted.
You said something earlier that something else you just said reminded me. You were talking about there's always the next dog, referencing like a new experience, a new ability to improve. And there's a lot of dog trainers who miss out on what they can get from the next dog in the context that you meant that in. And here's what I mean by that is because they have no systems in their business, because they have no reproducible client experience, because every single new client is they are starting the business over again, that they're so consumed with the client, with the process, right down to the scheduling, man, right down to scheduling next week's session, the decision fatigue that they are not even aware they are suffering from. Like they wouldn't say to you, oh man, I need a business coach to help me with decision fatigue. Like they don't even know what decision fatigue is. They're suffering from it though, because there's no structure, there's no plan, right down to pricing. Every client's a different price. Every client's a different this. Every client's a new set of emails to send. Every client's a new Google Doc to send. There's nothing prepared. There's nothing. We said entrepreneur, manager, technician. There is no manager in their business. It's a dog trainer trying to do customer relations, client communication. Oh, and train the dog, by the way, like at the end. So a lot of them are missing out on some of the wonderful development and growth they can get from the dog itself, from the job they're actually there to do, because they're so frazzled, stressed, and fatigued from the business side because they were never taught it, and they're still not realizing that there's help out there for them to learn it, or that they even need to learn it. Like, yeah, when the business part is running smoothly and it's a machine that operates predictably, every client, it's the same experience. It's the same welcome email. It's the same process by getting them on, onboarding a new client. All of that is our systems. I just started teaching that in my program last week. We just started module 6, which is systems. So it's a very appropriate timing. That stuff frees up the mental and emotional bandwidth that you need to now work that dog in front of you. And what you were referencing, like, hey, start over, new dog. What am I going to learn here? So by getting better at business, you actually create the opportunity to become better at the craft that you're so passionate about, that drove you here in the first place, if that makes sense.
For sure. I mean,
I get passionate about it, and I start rattling.
So what I wrote down, and you talked a little about, I put a consistent testimonials. Like, how do you ask for testimonials? Because I want to ask you about that, because I had a call recently with a gentleman who's actually doing an amazing job. He sees a lot of clients, and I went on his page. He had like 20 testimonials, and on the call, he talked about how he helped this dog lose a lot of weight and overcome a lot of things. And I always say, like, at the point of highest satisfaction, you have to ask for the testimonial right there. So testimonials is one that I feel like is such a low-hanging fruit. Like, you should always ask for that. Then you have onboarding. And I was surprised by the inconsistent pricing. I didn't realize that was a real thing where people change their pricing. So I put consistent pricing, consistent offer, consistent packages.
Oh, their pricing is all over the place. So what happened?
What do they think will happen if owner A finds out about owner B and they're like owner, like they're servicing the same community. So
here's what typically happens. There's a price on the website, which I have my own thoughts about that. There's two completely different schools about that. Yeah. If you are booked solid 2 months out, put your prices on. Well, first raise them, then put your prices on.
Cool.
If you're needing business, do not put those prices up. Especially that's a whole half-hour conversation about why you wouldn't. But they have a price in their head, maybe. When it's time to that horrible moment where they have to say it out loud. And that's what, for a lot of dog trainers, it is they feel, and I'm not mocking them. Like I'm understanding, because I was there once too. I was always a customer service guy and I had an issue with sales. And people used to say to me, like, you're probably great at sales. Like, listen to you. I'm like, no, because I'm coming from customer service and teaching. Sales made me feel icky because I had a dysfunctional relationship with sales until I fixed it. So many dog trainers are coming in, and when it's time to ask for the money, they do not feel good. Like, literally, they do not feel well in that moment. They're uncomfortable. They're sweaty. They're anxious. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of sounding like that person from their traumatic memory of sales. They don't want to be that guy. And they don't want to be that guy or girl so bad that now that price becomes very inconsistent. They'll mention the price, the client, the prospect, because they're not a client yet, makes the slightest facial expression. Boom, there's $300 off. One objection comes up. Oh, there's another $500 off. Like, they just start using price as their salesman. So that's what I mean by inconsistent pricing, because all of a sudden the discounts start coming up. All of a sudden price becomes a negotiation. And it's just through insecurity and not feeling comfortable with what you're doing.
Can I share with you, and you feel free to poke a hole in this if you don't agree, but what helped me, and I distinguish between sales and closing. So sales to me is all like kind of the leading up, why you should work with me, overcoming objections. Here's the results I've gotten for other people. That's the salesmanship. And then to me, the close is when you say, are you ready to get started?
Yep.
Pause. And then inevitably, what is the price?
Yep.
And then say the price and shut up.
Yep.
And have like what is it in Fight Club, where when they like step on the pin, like pinch yourself, call it you, whatever you need to do, but shut up. Are you ready to get started? Pause. They ask inevitably, well, what does it cost? Say the price and shut up. And maybe they'll be like, that's too high, but shut up. Learn that shut up. And that's the close. So the sale is all the overcoming objection. Here's how I've helped other people that look like you, et cetera, et cetera. It's a sale. We've talked about that. And then the close is, are you ready to get started? Pause. They ask for the price. Give them the price. And I'll tell you guys, regardless of what happens, it will really help you a lot if you don't talk past the close.
There's no holes to poke in that. That is like the best practice, period.
It's the self-control, right?
Yeah.
You want to say, well, like, it's this, like, well, and then you start like giving objections. Just shut up. Where can people find out about you? How can people join your program? I can't imagine people wouldn't want to.
It's just Instagram is the best place to find me, because right in the link is the join my school group, the Balanced Dog Business. But just go to Instagram, KD Mathews with 1 T. And most of my content now I've shifted because I'm actually closing my dog owner program, the Canine Blueprint, that I've been running for about 5 or 6 years now. I'm not taking any new enrollment. My efforts are pretty much focused on helping dog trainers right now. So that's my social media is starting to reflect that. But yeah, at KD Mathews, and the name of my program for dog trainers is the Balanced Dog Business. It's a school group. I love the school platform. For those that are familiar with it, they know why. Um, just a great place. And I priced it to be obnoxiously. Basically, what I did was when I created the price for it, it was, I did it on purpose to make it ridiculous to not enroll. Like, that was very intentional. Like, I priced it at what should be less than an hour of working as a dog trainer, even though I teach people we shouldn't be thinking about it in hourly rates because we don't charge per hour, we charge per transformation. But if we were to break it down, and I wanted it to be so cheap that it's like, why wouldn't you join this and get all of the help that you need? I'm offering, I do live coaching. So there's curated course content. There are what we did what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago? We did our first live workshop on website design. Just fundamentals, ABCs of a website. Even if you think you want to hire someone, you should know the fundamentals so you can find out if they're worth your damn money. Because that's a whole nother thing. There's plenty of people jumping into the dog space right now because their mouths are watering because they realize that dog trainers have no idea what they're doing. And I have seen some websites that people have spent a lot of money for that are, I mean, borderline give me a seizure just looking at it. Like, how much did you pay for that? So we did a workshop on websites, and I went through and pulled up people's websites and we audited them. I taught them a little bit about AI to help them. We do live coaching calls where I answer all their questions. The main rule of my community is there's zero discussion of dog training. That is a hard rule. We do not talk about the training of dogs. There is a time and a place for that. And that is that's not what this community is for. Like, you should already know how to do that. You're here to learn how to run the business that allows you to continue to do that. If you want to talk to me about dog training, we can do that somewhere else. Could you share some transformations that you've had for other dog trainers? Oh gosh, as soon as you say that, like, there's one that pops into mind because it's such a vivid, it's just like instant. Oh man, super, super talented. Like, one of the most naturally talented trainers I've seen in a long time. And like, the hard part was in the beginning, she didn't realize it. Like, she didn't know how good she was. And I'm watching her with dogs. I'm like, just out of curiosity, like, what was your gross revenue last month? And I think it was like something like 4,000 or 5,000. Like, it hurt my soul because there was a bunch of dogs there. Like, there was a bunch. Like, she's fully booked, and she gives you the number where it's basically rent in Florida. Yeah. And hardworking, honest, ethical, like, perfect person to be in this industry. Like, this is who we want to clone because of what, like, this person actually does for dogs and the owners. Like, we need more of this. So it just started casual. Like, listen, it hurts me that you just said that. Can I help you with this? And we had other arrangements, like, this person watches my dogs and boards my dogs because I trust her that much. And I was like, this won't even be official, but like, let me just talk to you about this. We weren't even doing like coaching sessions. It was like me going over there and just running through some fundamentals, like talking about a little bit of branding and just the difference between a service and an offer, and like, what are you packaging and what are you talking to people about? So the first big transformation was when she called me up with her first 20K month. And I was like, okay, now you know.
What did she say?
I can't remember verbatim. It was because it was on the phone. Well, first it was a DM. It was a Facebook message. Like, oh my God, we got to talk. Oh and God. Then I called.
Are my dogs okay?
They were, what did she say? It wasn't a long conversation. It was just like, I just need you to know this is what we did last month.
We just 4x my business.
All gross.
You just 4x their business.
Yeah.
But the business didn't
Casually.
Yeah, but by tweaking the instruments without changing the overall how she does things.
No website, no paid ads. That's how little the tweaks were, man. But it was much more about perspectives. And dude, it's the same thing as dog training. It wasn't some complicated system of like jumping through this and the dog here and I click here and I say this and that. Like, no, it was like, hey, this is a dog. Let's just think about how the dog thinks. And like, it was perspective based. Like, hey, this is your business. You're actually really good and you're really helping people. But like, this is how we can have these conversations, or let's get more organized with this. And like, you are allowed to raise your prices, and they will bring in actually more quality clients that will give you better results, because bargain prices don't help anyone.
You're one emergency away from going out of business.
Yeah.
Do people, I don't even know if people realize that.
No, they don't even think about it. Now, the thing is with this individual, what's really cool is there was another big transformation that came after that, because this person also is a workaholic, like dedicated all day into the night. And this is over time, right? We're building a relationship. And I was like, when's the last time you and your dude, and I love her fiance, like he's the coolest. Both of them are just amazing human beings. It's like, when's the last time you guys went and like did some shit? Like, go have some fun. Or like, we live near this river, like this, well, you're from Florida, like the Weeki Wachee River. You know, there's all those springs up in my area of Florida where you just hop on a raft or a kayak or a board and it's crystal clear and there's dolphins and manatees everywhere. And I remember I kind of got on to her about like, okay, now it's time to start scheduling some time for you and your dude. Like, you guys need to go out and do some stuff. And I remember seeing a couple posts on social media, all of a sudden more posts, all of a sudden more posts. Then I went with him one time. I'm like, this is more important than the money, by the way. Like, this is life. Now you're doing stuff and you're having fun. I mean, how we even got into, I did one time I had them come over and I did a whole protein powder sampling class on, because like she wasn't eating right. Her nutrition was off because she was working so much and she wasn't going in the house to cook. And I was like, I've been a gym rat for years. I'm really big into health and nutrition. It's actually something in my business community. I'm working on another course that I'm going to have in there about health, because I see a lot of dog trainers that are not healthy, which impacts their businesses. Absolutely. So like, I had her come over and we had a whole thing where I was teaching them different protein shakes to make, different ways that she can get this food in while she's on the farm working. And like, that is where my passion is in working in the whole dog trainer. Not just, even though we do talk about revenue, we do talk about like, well, all right, first let's talk about the gross, and now let's take a look at the net. Let's see what's happening in there. Yeah, you need to learn how to track your leads and track your sales and like, what's your conversion. If I look at you and I'm like, what for the last 3 months, what was your conversion percentage? And you look at me blankly. Yeah, we got a big problem. Like, or you scratch your head and go, oh, it was about 30. Like, what do you mean about? You should be able to do 2 clicks, pull up something and go, oh, last month I was at 38%. If you can't do that, we got a problem.
And that's evaluation to client.
Evaluation, right? Not lead.
Right. They find out about you, they reach out, they show up with their dog, they turn into a paying client.
Exactly. Like, yes, we talk about that because you have to. But where I wanted to be and where I've been validated by the trainers I'm working with, they've confirmed it, where I am in this space of helping dog trainers is I am absolutely running everything through the filter of, this is about improving your life.
Holistic.
100%.
And so some of the stuff is habits, and some of these things, is this templates that they would get, or is this templates that they create on their own?
Most of it I'm teaching them how to make. So within the community, there's currently one course being taught. I'm teaching it live. and then I upload the recordings for anyone else comes in. The plan is for this to have, I mean, I just started this like 2 months ago. This community. I've been working with trainers for one-on-one for years. And it's like the typical model. I'm sure you're familiar. You work one-on-one for a while. Once you realize the trends, you realize the strengths, the weaknesses, you create a group model so you can scale. So now that I'm here, it's like, okay, we're working on this one course, Canine Business Essentials, which is very nuts and bolts, principles based. Yeah, there's some templates. Like, for example, that conversion, like from evaluation to close. I gave a template that I use. Very basic, very simple Google Sheet. I'm like, listen, guys, here, start here. Hop on a coaching call so we can talk about implementation and how to use it. But other than that, my goal is I want to show them how to make their own, because I have trainers that are in there that are operating such different business models. Like, there's such variation.
Right.
And the reality is the help is all the same. The principles are all the same. It might look a little different here and there. I got some people who only do privates. I have some people who only do board and trains. I got a service dog trainer in there. Like, there's all types of stuff going on. So if I try to stick very principles based, and then when it comes to applying it to their business, that's what the live coaching calls are. Let's hop on a call and we'll talk about it.
Yep.
And when
the principle of clarity, right? The principle is clarity into your business. And we talk about clarity for your dog, clarity into your business.
It's the same thing. And the relationship, like, what is your relationship with this information? What is your relationship with this business?
And what your passion is, you're a kingmaker. You like to help lift people up.
Everyone else is the hero, man, not me. They are. Yeah. I want to be the one to show them that they can be heroes.
School community, KD Mathews on Instagram. We'll wrap up with this because I keep these 90 minutes, but I want to give you a little bit of a platform. Share with me your 2 cents on pit bulls. And remember what you said about the too much of, how did you word it?
Cuddles killed the pit bull.
Cuddles killed the pit bull.
Yeah. So I love the breed, the American Pit Bull Terrier. Absolutely love it. Have probably worked with that breed of dog and its close kin more than anything else. Very misunderstood in general. I will say that the majority of dogs we see out there are not pure American Pit Bull Terriers. That's very important to understand. Most people wouldn't recognize a pure American Pit Bull Terrier if they saw it. They would think it's something else. I think that this breed of dog, though, however, is suffering from our current culture's obsession with virtue signaling. So the pit bull has is being exploited, only for very different reasons than it was when it made the Sports Illustrated cover in the 80s, where it became famous for something very different. Now the pit bull has become see, I don't judge.
What? Oh.
I'm not judgmental. Look what I did. I took a pity in. That dog that they say eats babies. Look at me.
Florida, we call it a lab. Some of the black pit bulls, they call them labs here.
Yeah, and it's become a dog that people use to virtue signal moral superiority and that they're not judgmental. And it's like, no one said you were. And this is not a very healthy way, though, to virtue signal that, because you still have a dog. And man, it isn't even a pure American Pit Bull Terrier, which now makes that water so much muddier in terms of genetic, instinctual temperaments, drive, inherent disposition. And you got a large, strong dog with varying levels of prey drive, varying levels of pain tolerance, and completely unknown breeding. And now you've never had a dog before, but man, you sure do have an Instagram. And that Instagram is you cuddling with that dog, telling the world, save the pitties. But the dog's like 30 pounds overweight. It's probably going to die 3 years earlier than it needs to, because you don't even understand canine physiology and health. Because at the end of the day, it really isn't about that pit bull, is it? It's about you looking like you love dogs. And this is where we get into the topic of what I'm always talking about, the fake dog lovers. It's the people who don't truly love dogs. They love how having dogs makes them feel, or they love how looking like they love dogs makes them feel. Unfortunately, the pit bull has become one of the chosen breeds to do this with, because they don't understand what they are. And if I even try to explain to people the true nature and history of the dog, like they're like, oh, you hate them. You must be a hater. I'm like, I got two right now. It's one of my favorite breeds of all time. Because I know them, I respect them, I love them. That means acknowledging who they are. And you can't love something while denying its true identity. That's not love at all. That's actually like really disrespectful.
KD, this never happens, but in my program, we got a pit bull. They sold it to her as a lab. Her name's Sunshine. She's a puppy, though. We got her 2 months, 3 months into the program. When do you get pit bull puppies into the program? Like hardly ever.
Never.
Never. And I have a little obstacle course. And I always do it. I do it less now with clients because of the reaction, but I always walk dogs through it. And I want the owner to see the dog struggle. Actually, that's the goal of it. It's a Stoney Dennis invention, but it's so basic. Like it's so
Uncle Stoney.
He's hilarious. And this lady broke down in front of me because she was like, she got this dog. They told her it's a lab. It clearly is not a lab. And then it refused to do every obstacle, even though it's capable. And I was like, we're going to be okay. I love this dog. I have this dog. We need to teach this dog how to bite. We need to give this dog an outlet for its fulfillment. It's going to be a very strong dog. And we need to start early to finding different opportunities to kind of implement what I call like recurring areas of conflict. Like when the dog doesn't want to do something really small and you just enforce your rule when they're a puppy, right? Like it could be going on a place bed. It doesn't have to be something huge. It's just, hey, mom told you to do this. And then you could free her with like a tug toy or free her with a ball.
Yep.
I love the pitties. They bite hard though. My buddy, he came to me with aggression. He was rehomed by a neighbor. Had like a few bites on his record, but that's my boy, man. I love him so much. And I got like a purebred golden retriever recently. No problem. Just like a perfect dog. I love my boy. I love all his baggage.
I've owned numerous, and like I said, I've worked with many, and I just have so much respect for those animals. I have so much admiration for those animals. It's one of my absolute favorite types of dogs.
This isn't across the board, but strong and sensitive is how I describe him.
Yeah.
Very sensitive. Like you wouldn't think he'd be such a sensitive boy, but he is. The
majority of them are actually obnoxiously handler sensitive, which makes trialing and high level work challenging. Like you really have to know your dog and you really have to understand about 100 different ways to get a message across, because you might have to pick, because that particular dog might need you to really find a way to work with it, because they're most of them get incredibly emotional and in their feelings very easily. They're rather handler sensitive.
Katie, I knew I would enjoy this. What a great catch weekend. You're awesome. I urge you guys listening to this. I mean, there'll be clips as well on Instagram. You'll see them, but join the school community. I mean, for $100, I think I saw $147 a month. $147. Yeah, I mean, think about it this way: you find a new client, you pay for the whole thing, but that's not even the value. The community, the skills, the knowledge. It's really important to have communities of people that uplift you as you're going through this journey, whether you've been in this for 1 month or 10 years. So I urge you guys to be in there. I will be in there. Thank you, KD. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. I enjoyed this conversation immensely, man.